Rachel Moore, 34, sat quietly in the third row of the crowded hall at Lakeside Air Force Base. She wore a simple gray dress and kept her expression calm. Her younger sister, Lisa, was being promoted today, and the family had gathered to celebrate. Rachel, however, was not here to be seen. She had chosen not to wear her military uniform, even though it was hanging neatly in her closet. For years her parents told everyone that Rachel had failed out of the military, that she just couldn't cut it. Nobody ever asked for her side of the story. They assumed she had given up and Rachel had allowed them to believe it. What they didn't know was that she had risen through the ranks in complete silence. Her success was hidden behind classified walls and security clearances. And now, as she watched her sister step forward to accept her new rank, Rachel wondered if the truth would stay buried forever. That question didn't last long. As the base commander, Colonel Thomas Grant, stepped to the podium and began his speech, his eyes swept across the room. Then for a second they locked on Rachel. A flicker of recognition crossed his face. Rachel looked away quickly, her heart pounding. They had worked together before, on something important, something secret. She had been his commanding officer. If he acknowledged her now, everything her family believed about her would be turned upside down in an instant. She sat up straighter and prepared for the moment she had both feared and longed for. Today wasn't about her. Or so she thought. Where are you watching from today? Kindly hit like, comment and subscribe to this channel for more. Rachel grew up in the small town of Pinefield, where everybody knew each other and respected the Moore family. Her father, Richard Moore, had served in the army for almost 30 years before retiring as a colonel. Her grandfather had been in the Navy. Her older brother, Adam, joined the Marines straight after high school and rose to the rank of major. The Moore name was proudly connected to military service. But that pride was reserved for the men. At home it was clear. Men served, women supported. More men fight, more women stand behind them, her father often said. He believed a woman's duty was to raise strong sons and keep the home steady. Rachel never fit into that mold. Even as a child she had no interest in dolls or tea parties. She was more interested in maps and war history books. Her father's study was filled with military manuals. Whenever he wasn't home, Rachel would sneak in and read for hours. She imagined herself commanding troops and making battlefield decisions. One day her father caught her reading a thick strategy book. He chuckled. "Cute, Rachel," he said. "But this isn't a storybook. These are real tools for real men." That laugh stayed with her longer than he realized. It didn't crush her dreams. It lit a fire. Rachel stopped talking about her military dreams after that day. But inside the fire burned brighter. She joined her school's junior ROTC program and took leadership roles in every club she joined. Her teachers noticed her drive. "You've got something special," her science teacher once said. "You lead without showing off." Her guidance counselor encouraged her to apply to West Point. Rachel worked hard. Late night studying. Early morning runs. Perfect grades. Everything to prove she was ready. When the acceptance letter finally arrived, she held it in her hands for a full minute before opening it. She had done it. That evening she brought the letter to the dinner table expecting proud smiles. Instead her father set down his fork and stared at her. "West Point," he repeated. "You, Rachel, the military isn't for people like you. You'll last 2 weeks in basic." Her mother reached across the table and gently squeezed her hand. "Sweetheart, you're so smart. Why not become a teacher or maybe a nurse? Something safe. Something normal." Her brother laughed loudly. "You cried during that camping trip last year. What'll you do in the field?" Lisa, then just a teenager, said nothing. She looked down at her plate. "I'm going," Rachel said quietly but firmly. "I've been accepted and I'm going." Her father shook his head. "Then you'll come crawling back when you realize you made a mistake. And we'll have to tell everyone why you failed." That night Rachel celebrated alone. No hugs, no cake, no photos. Just her letter, and the growing sense that her journey would be a lonely one. She packed quietly over the summer. Her father barely spoke to her. Her mother kept asking if she was sure. "You can still change your mind," she whispered one afternoon. Adam teased her on every call. "Don't forget your teddy bear," he joked. Lisa, like always, remained silent. On the night before Rachel left, her father stood in the hallway and said, "There's no shame in giving up when you realize something isn't for you. Just don't take too long." The next day they drove her to the bus station instead of West Point. 4 hours is a long trip, her father said. Rachel said nothing as she boarded the bus. She stared out the back window watching her family get smaller and smaller. Her mother wiped away tears. Her father already looked disappointed. West Point was harder than anything Rachel had ever experienced. The physical drills, the mental pressure, the constant shouting, all of it hit her like a wave. On her first night she lay on a stiff mattress with aching muscles and doubts crowding her head. Maybe her father had been right. Maybe she didn't belong. But deep inside a small voice whispered, "Keep going." She wrote letters home hoping for encouragement. Her mother sent short notes about the garden and the weather. Her father didn't reply at all. Rachel stopped expecting support. But slowly she found her rhythm. He made friends. She learned fast. One girl in particular, Amanda White, became like a sister. "You're tougher than you look," Amanda said during training one day. "You've got that steel in your spine." Rachel smiled. For the first time someone saw her as strong. Things were finally falling into place when everything changed. During a field exercise in her second year, Rachel slipped while crossing a muddy trail and fractured her leg badly. The doctors were concerned. Recovery would take months. Some whispered she might be discharged. Rachel panicked. She didn't want to go home, not like this. One afternoon, while lying in the hospital bed, a tall woman in uniform entered. "Cadet Moore?" the woman asked. "I'm Captain Laura Jensen. I've been watching your progress." Rachel blinked. "Ma'am, before this injury you were in the top 5% of your class. That tells me something important about you." Rachel looked down at her leg. "Doesn't feel important now." Captain Jensen's voice sharpened. "Injury is just a problem. You're a problem solver. So solve it." That visit changed everything. Captain Jensen visited often. She brought strategy exercises, leadership puzzles, and tactical reports for Rachel to study. "You may not be in the field right now," she said, "but your mind still works." When Rachel started physical therapy, Captain Jensen arranged extra sessions. The pain was intense, but the encouragement was stronger. "You belong here," Amanda reminded her one evening. "You lead with your brain and your heart. That's rare." By the time Rachel recovered, she was sharper than ever. She pushed harder, trained smarter, and caught up with her class. At graduation she finished in the top 5%, just like Captain Jensen predicted. Her family came to the ceremony out of obligation. They clapped politely. Her father shook her hand and said, "Well, I'll admit, you proved me wrong about surviving training. But real service is a different game." The words stung, but Rachel smiled. She didn't need his approval anymore. Rachel's first assignment brought her something new, purpose. She wasn't just training anymore. She was leading teams, solving real problems, and making decisions that mattered. Her commanding officers noticed. They praised her for her calm leadership and sharp thinking. "You have a way of solving things others can't," one officer told her. Rachel finally felt at home. She was promoted to lieutenant, and out of habit she called her parents to share the news. "That's nice," her mother said. "But have you thought about starting a family? You're not getting any younger." Her father cut in. "Lieutenant is just the beginning. Let's see if you make it to captain. Most people don't." A week later Lisa called. "I'm joining the Air Force," she announced proudly. "The right way. Through officer school." Her father's cheer could be heard through the phone. "Now that's a real Moore." That Christmas the dinner table buzzed with talk of Lisa's Air Force career. Their father gave her tips, offered names, and told old stories. Rachel stayed quiet. When she tried to mention a recent operation, her father waved it off. "She files reports," he told the family with a grin. "Lisa's the one out there doing the real work." Something inside Rachel hardened. Later that night her father pulled her aside. "I just don't want you getting your hopes too high," he said. "This career won't go far for someone like you." Rachel nodded calmly. "You're right," she said, not with agreement, but with finality. That night she made a decision. No more updates. No more explaining. No more invitations for pride that would never come. Her military life would be hers alone. As Rachel's silence grew, her career took off. Her natural skill for problem-solving caught the attention of senior officers. At 28 she was invited to apply for a position with Special Operations Command. The process was brutal, with most applicants failing. Rachel made it. She couldn't tell anyone, not even Lisa. It was all top secret. She celebrated quietly in her apartment with a glass of wine. No one to call. No one who would understand what the promotion truly meant. During this time she met Nathan, a military intelligence officer who noticed her sharp mind right away. Their relationship grew slowly, built on trust and shared silence. When they got married on base, her family came looking lost and out of place. "What does he do again?" her mother whispered. "And what do you do now?" "We both work in intelligence," Rachel replied. "That's all I can say." Rachel's mother gave her a puzzled look. "You've always been so secretive about work. Is it because you're not happy?" Before Rachel could answer, her father cornered Nathan near the drinks table. "She was always too stubborn," he said with a chuckle. "Wouldn't admit the military wasn't for her. But she's lucky to have you. Maybe now she'll settle down and get it right." Nathan listened politely, but later that night he asked Rachel the question that had been building since the wedding. "Why does your family think you failed?" Rachel sighed. "Because it's easier for them to believe I did. It fits their story. If I try to explain the truth, it just starts a fight." Nathan shook his head. "But you're one of the best in your field. Everyone I talk to respects you. How can they not know who you are?" Rachel looked at him sadly. "They've never wanted to." As Rachel's work became more classified, the distance between her and her family grew. He stopped trying to correct them. The less they knew, the safer she felt. Meanwhile, rumors started back home. At a family reunion, Rachel overheard her aunt whispering, "It's such a shame about Rachel. I heard she has anxiety now. Can't even talk about what she does." Her mother never corrected anyone. Instead, she leaned into the idea that Rachel was struggling, nodding sympathetically whenever someone brought it up. "We're just giving her space," she'd say. Rachel couldn't decide what hurt more, the lies being told or the silence from people who should have known better. Her father continued praising Lisa for doing things the right way. Every family event became harder to attend, until eventually Rachel and Nathan decided to limit their visits to the bare minimum. "They don't see you," Nathan said. "And that hurts me more than I can say." The turning point came during a high-level joint branch operation involving national intelligence. Rachel was in charge of strategic planning, and the mission succeeded beyond expectations. Her performance was so impressive that she was invited to join a specialized leadership track, a fast lane for future generals. She didn't tell her family. The promotion ceremony was small and private due to her clearance level. Nathan stood beside her as the star was placed on her uniform. "To General Rachel Moore," he whispered, raising a glass of champagne that night. "The world may not know, but I do." Rachel smiled, feeling pride and sadness at once. She had earned something incredible. But she knew her parents would never acknowledge it, not unless it was shouted in front of them. One day an invitation arrived in the mail. It was from Lisa. She was being promoted to major and wanted the whole family there. Rachel hesitated. Her first instinct was to skip it. "You don't have to go," Nathan said gently. "No one would blame you." Rachel looked at the envelope. "She's my sister," she replied. "That still means something to me." Nathan asked the one question she had been avoiding. "Will you wear your uniform?" Rachel shook her head. "No. This is her day. I won't make it about me." Nathan didn't argue, but she saw the concern in his eyes. "I have a meeting I can't move, but I'll come if you need backup." Rachel smiled faintly. "I'll be fine. It's just a few hours." Deep down though, she wasn't sure. Rachel chose a conservative dress the morning of the event. Professional but plain. She wanted to blend in. As she parked at the base, she took a deep breath and reminded herself why she came: to support Lisa, not to fix her family's view of her. As she stepped into the parking lot, her mother spotted her. "Rachel, over here." She rushed over with the same cheerfulness one might show to a visiting neighbor. Her father stood nearby, arms crossed, face unreadable. "Didn't think you'd come," he said. "Good to see you making an effort." "I wouldn't miss Lisa's big day," Rachel replied calmly. Her mother looped an arm through hers. "You look nice, dear. A bit thin. Are you eating?" Rachel said nothing. They began walking toward the hall. Just outside the ceremony room, a group of Air Force officers approached. One of them greeted Rachel's father warmly. "Colonel Moore, it's an honor to meet you. Your daughter speaks very highly of your service." The honor's mine, her father replied, puffing up with pride. He placed a hand on Rachel's shoulder. This is our other daughter, Rachel. She tried the military for a while, but it wasn't the right fit. The officers nodded politely, interest fading. She works in government now, her mother added with a soft voice. We don't ask too much. It gives her anxiety. Rachel clenched her jaw but kept her smile. The narrative hadn't changed. Inside the hall, more introductions followed. Each one included a version of Rachel's so-called failure. Her brother Adam cracked jokes to his Marine friends. Rachel once cried during a war movie. That should have been our first clue. Lisa said nothing, just smiled tightly when their eyes met. Her silence stung worse than any words. Rachel kept her expression calm and let the comments pass. She had endured worse. As she sat down, she considered slipping out quietly. A work emergency would be the perfect excuse. But then a memory surfaced. Of all the nights she worked late, the missions she led, the lives her strategies saved. None of that existed in this room. Here she was, just the sister who couldn't hack it. She sat up straighter. No. She wouldn't run. Not again. The ceremony began with military precision. National anthem, speeches, and official welcomes. Rachel stood for the anthem, her posture naturally straight. Even in civilian clothes, she couldn't unlearn her training. Then the master of ceremonies introduced Colonel Thomas Grant, the base commander who would handle the promotions. Rachel's breath caught. She knew that name. They had worked together on Operation Cold Bridge, a mission so sensitive that few knew the details. Rachel had been his superior officer. She lowered her eyes, hoping he wouldn't notice her. Hoping he would stick to the script. Colonel Grant began his speech. Military service is more than duty. It's legacy. It's the people who stand behind us. As he spoke, his eyes scanned the crowd and stopped. Rachel. A flicker of confusion crossed his face, followed by clear recognition. He paused mid-sentence before recovering. Rachel held her breath. Maybe he would let it go. Maybe he'd pretend not to know her. The rest of the speech blurred in her mind. Her heart pounded as possibilities raced through her thoughts. Was he going to say something? Would he out her in front of her entire family? After the official pinning, Lisa stood beaming, receiving hugs and congratulations. Rachel kept her distance, offering a polite smile when their eyes met. Then from the corner of her vision she saw Colonel Grant walking toward her, directly. His steps were confident, his gaze steady. Rachel stood, instinctively straightening her back. "Ma'am," he said loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "You're General Moore. It's an honor." The room went silent. Her father turned slowly. Her mother's smile froze. "I apologize for the informal setting," Colonel Grant continued, "but your work on Operation Cold Bridge changed everything. We're still using your strategy across multiple bases." Rachel responded calmly, "Thank you, Colonel. I'm here as family today." He blinked in surprise. "She's your sister?" he asked, glancing at Lisa. "Remarkable. 2 Moores serving with such distinction. Your family must be very proud." Before Rachel could answer, her father stepped forward, his voice strained. "There must be some mistake," he said quickly. "Rachel isn't. She works in an office." Colonel Grant looked confused. "No mistake, sir. General Moore is one of our most accomplished leaders in strategic operations. Much of her work is classified, but within the military her reputation is, well, it speaks for itself." The silence around them deepened. An Air Force major nearby turned and did a double take. "General Moore? The Rachel Moore? Ma'am, we've been training under your framework for the last 2 months." Another officer chimed in. "Your work changed the way we think about multi-branch coordination. It's an honor to meet you." Rachel's family stood frozen. Her father's face paled. Her mother pressed a hand to her mouth. Adam stared dumbfounded. But it was Lisa's face that held the most complex mix of emotions. Shock, confusion, and something that looked like betrayal. Colonel Grant seemed to sense the awkward tension. "I didn't mean to interrupt your family's celebration, General. Perhaps we can meet next week to discuss further applications." "Of course," Rachel replied smoothly. "My office will coordinate." With a nod he moved on. But the damage, or rather the truth, was done. The family's silence was heavy. Her father was the first to speak, his voice low and tight. "What is going on, Rachel?" Rachel met his eyes without flinching. "We should talk privately." Her mother nodded quickly. Let's step out. Somewhere quiet. They moved into a nearby empty conference room. As soon as the door closed, the questions exploded. General, her father demanded. Since when? Why didn't you tell us? Her mother added, still visibly shaken. This can't be right, Adam muttered. There's no way you outrank all of us. Lisa just stared, silently watching Rachel like she was seeing her for the first time. Rachel looked at them and for once didn't hold back. It's not a mistake. I've been a general for over a year. And before that, I held leadership roles you never asked about because you assumed I failed. Every time I tried to tell you something, it was dismissed or turned into a joke. So I stopped telling you. They all blinked at her. But we're your family, her mother said. How could you hide something like that? Rachel's voice was quiet but strong. Because I was tired of being told I wasn't enough. Tired of proving myself just to have it ignored. I needed to protect my peace. Her father stepped forward, his voice filled with disbelief. So all these years you were just lying? No, Rachel said calmly. I was surviving. I shared until it became clear you didn't care to know. For a moment no one spoke. Then softly Lisa broke the silence. We did it, she said. Or we let it happen. We believed what we wanted to believe. Even when things didn't add up. I should have said something. I should have asked. I'm sorry, Rachel. The words hit harder than Rachel expected. She blinked rapidly but didn't look away. It was the first time her sister had ever defended her. Rachel's mother sat down slowly. We've been telling people you failed, she whispered. We've been pitying you. Her voice cracked. I don't know how to undo that. Her father still looked stiff. You should have corrected us. Rachel raised her eyebrows. Would you have listened? Really listened? Adam cleared his throat. But how did we not know? Promotions are public. My work is classified, Rachel said. Private ceremonies, no public listings. And none of you ever looked. You believed the version of me that fit your idea of success. Not the truth. A soft knock broke the moment. Nathan stepped in, his face concerned. Sorry I'm late, he said gently. Did I miss something? You could say that, Rachel replied with a dry smile. Nathan nodded at her father. Sir, General Moore is one of the most respected minds in our field. She's not just good at what she does, she's exceptional. I've seen it firsthand. Her father shook his hand out of habit, still processing. Then came another knock. Colonel Grant again. Sorry to interrupt, General. There's a matter needing your input. Rachel nodded. I'll be right there. As Rachel followed the colonel out, Nathan stayed behind. Through the door she could hear him saying, she never meant to hurt any of you. But while you were assuming the worst, she was out there saving lives. That's not drama. That's reality. The hallway was quiet as she walked. Her mind raced with everything said and unsaid. For years she believed that their approval might one day matter. Now, standing in uniform outside that room, she realized she no longer needed it. Her truth had already spoken for itself. Their opinion had just caught up to it. A week later, Rachel received an invitation to dinner. At her parents' house. Not a holiday. No obligations. Just family. When she and Nathan arrived, the atmosphere was different. Softer. Honest. Her father stood as she entered and gave her a respectful nod. General Moore, he said formally. Then added, Rachel. The meal started slow. Small talk. Then questions. Real ones. What can you share about your work? What was your toughest moment as a leader? For the first time in years, Rachel felt heard. And as she looked around the table, she knew something had shifted. Months later, Rachel received an award at a public military event. Her entire family came, dressed up front row. Her mother wiped tears. Her father stood proud. Lisa clapped the loudest. After the ceremony, her father came up and said, I was wrong. I see you now. And I'm proud. Truly proud. Rachel smiled, her chest full. Thanks, Dad. But I didn't do it for that. I did it because I had to. He nodded slowly. And that's what makes you the leader we needed. Rachel realized then she didn't need validation. She had found strength in herself long ago. But healing, that was worth showing up for.